Yes, this is another Christmas card video. It's almost Thanksgiving, which means it's almost Christmas, so I gotta get cracking. So this is the card that I'm making today. It's actually quite a simple card to make, so I'm gonna go over the steps and the process. For the materials for this card, I am using a few distress inks to make a blended sky. Also some tools for embossing, heat tools, static powder, embossing powder, Versamark ink, some painter's tape. I'll also be using a couple stamps, just some plain black ink, and a couple Copic markers to color the stamping. So I'm starting off with a 4x4 card. I'm going to mount it on a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 card base. I'm taking Versamark ink and inking up the card sentiment. In this card I'm going to be doing some resist stamping, meaning the ink blending will not cover up the white embossing. I could have done it where I did the blending first and then embossed over top of it. I don't know why I did it this way. I think the resist technique is kind of cool. So here I'm lining up my card on the grid lines on my mat to make sure I stamp the sentiment relatively straight. Now I'm going to actually do the embossing. I am covering that Versamark ink with some white Hero Arts embossing powder, plucking off the excess there. Now I'm going to melt the embossing powder with my heat tool. You can actually see in this clip here that my heat tool definitely warps paper more than it should probably if I had a better heat tool. But I usually when I'm embossing things, I'm mounting it onto something else, so the warping won't be that visible. I don't know if you can see it, but there is the embossing there. It's white on white, so it's a little hard to see. Because I am going to be doing some ink blending and I want to make sure the white of the snowman stays white like the card, I am using a couple pieces of the painter's tape to make a mask. And I'm going to cut that out now with my fussy cutting scissors, and there it is, a nice little mask. If you have actual masking paper that's made for this, great. I don't, because as you know, I'm a crappy crafter. So next I'm going to go ahead and stamp the snowman on the card where I want him to be, kind of right in the middle. He's going to be like looking up into the sky, looking up at the sentiment. I was going to stamp over top of it because a couple of pieces didn't stamp clearly, but because it's such a thin stamp, I didn't want to mess up. So what I'm actually going to do to fill in those lines is use a really thin, not Copic, what the hell is it called? Micron, a really thin Micron pen to fill it in. Next, I'm going to color in his scarf with some Copic markers. I am using N0, which is like a almost white gray, and R37 maybe? I don't remember. Red. So after I finish coloring in his scarf, if I was a better artist, I probably would do like shading and different shades of red, but I suck and I don't have that many Copic markers. So you get what you get. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think it really called for that level of detail. I cover up the snowman with the mask so that when I do the blending, the whites will stay white. And I also put down some painter's tape to sort of mask off the area where the road will be, where the horizon of the sky is. This looks completely different, right? Completely different card, completely different sentiment. Because when I was making the card I'm showcasing in this video, I stopped at that point to go do something, came back, forgot to turn on the camera when I was doing the ink blending. So I'm just using footage from another card I made that I actually ended up abandoning because I messed it up, to show what the ink blending process is like. So in the middle, you want to always use a lighter ink to sort of mimic the sky and give some dimension. I use Salty Ocean. I also use peacock feathers in this video, but it didn't turn out that great. For the darker blue on the outer edges, I use Faded Jeans. And then right in the corners, I use Seedless Preserves. So after I blend the sky out, and we're back to the real star of the show here, I move the tape up to cover up the sky so that I can add some ink for the road, I guess, whatever. And I'm using some, is this Hero Arts ink? I don't remember. I think it's Hero Arts ink, and it's in charcoal, so it's not completely black. It's a very dark gray. So after doing that, carefully peel up that painter's tape, and then I peel up the mask to reveal a beautiful snowman. So this is my first time actually using masking as a technique other than sort of simple masking with like a straight line. So I didn't cut out the mask super perfect. So there's a couple little white areas on the outside of the snowman. So I try to fill that in with these Fantastics, these little color transfer doodads. It didn't really work out that well. Didn't ruin the card by any means, but next time I'll just have to make a better mask and not suck at cutting. So that's it. The card is basically done. Off camera, I have got to get better at doing art videos. I forgot to record this, but I use a white gel pen to mimic faux stitching. I also stamp the Versamark pad down kind of lightly and sprinkle some iridescent sparkly embossing powder over the card, and then melted it with the heat tool to mimic snow. I mounted it onto the card base, and that's it. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you're making some Christmas cards, let me know. If you make this card or a similar card, let me know. I'd love to see it. Thanks for watching.